Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Good morning. Last year, my neighbor joined a support group for procrastinators. They haven't met yet. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Did you get it? Okay. Here comes Kate Smith. Good morning. Oh, good morning. And I understand we just had kind of a beep in with the emergency system, EBS. And good morning to everybody. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, 734-6969. And, of course, our thank yous go out to Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. They had that big antique tractor show this last weekend. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valleywide. And right now, let's go over and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Well, if it isn't Sunshine Superman.
Yeah, how come you tried to give me away at the auction?
What?
How come you tried to give me away at that lunch bunch over there Thursday?
Well, because Polly had asked us. She said you were absolutely taking too much space up in the house as an antique.
Oh, and who was that said what she did? She didn't want me either?
Yeah, well, really, there wasn't any takers. We thought about having an auction, but quite frankly, there was no bidding.
Yeah, I know. That's nice. At least I'm not wanted.
That's right. Good morning. Give us the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, you're valued. Thanks, Al. We appreciate it. God bless you, man.
You bet. Have a long and beautiful day.
I will, sir. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Right now, it's time for the weather, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door or give them a call at 678-6945. All of your carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, home decor, whatever you need to make your house a home. You know, they can do a great job with all the carpet and the vinyl and the tile, everything. Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Call them or stop in. Really nice folks, and I'm honored to have them on the program. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And right now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Looks like a high-pressure system is in place for the rest of the week. Sunny skies for today. High right near 85, slightly breezy. Winds out of the west right around 10 miles an hour. Tonight, expect a low near 53. Now, tomorrow, still slightly breezy, but the temperature is going to go up. Sunny skies, high of 89 with an overnight low of 55. For Wednesday, sunny skies, high of 91 as we move closer to the weekend. Looks like highs are going to be in the mid-90s. Could see triple digits as we get on into the weekend. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Hey, I tell you what, it's going to get warm. It's going to get warmer. I mean, tell you what, hot is the word for the rest of the week. Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Really, really nice people. Hey, by the way, don't forget our friends at Daryl's Cleaners. And I tell you what, a lot of people say, do you really take your clothes, your shirts, and everything into Daryl's Cleaners? Yes, we do. They do the very, very best job, and all you have to do is stop in. You'll see what I mean. Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Take all those rumply crumplies in there, and they'll come back looking brand spanking new. So, once again, everybody knows that I'm not kidding. They are the best. Daryl's Cleaners in Burley. And I want to remind you, too, about our friends over at SafeLink Internet. And you probably, if you need internet services, let me tell you something, and this is not brag, it's a fact. They are Idaho's number one choice for wireless internet. And the first month is free, plus free installation, no contracts, no credit checks, unlimited data. They are good. We are blessed to have their service. Call them at 677-8000. SafeLink Internet, serving you. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I hope all the dads in the audience had a wonderful, top-notch Father's Day. And the weather was very nice, the weather was very warm, and everything was great, and I certainly hope that you were blessed by being treated as number one, as my lovely wife treated me. I appreciate that. We had a wonderful day together, and all our friends that we gathered around and everything, it was a lot of fun. Thank you so much on Father's Day. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you, these folks are really helping in the area, and that's Dave Zanino and his wife Dawn. And this Wednesday night at the Jerome County Fairgrounds for the Wednesday night Summer Series team roping, starting at 6:30 with sign-up, rope at 7, 3 for $25 draw pot. Dave and Dawn are going to donate to the Minnecasia Relay for Life, and we really appreciate everything they do, and they're even going to have special food for sale over there that's going to be really, really tasty during that Summer Series team roping this Wednesday night at the Jerome County Fairgrounds. So congratulations. And they help support the Minnecasia Relay for Life, which I hope was an absolutely huge success. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Now, I've told you for the last couple of weeks, hey, it's going to get warm. I didn't think it was going to get this warm in June, but it did. Ramsey Heating and Electric, they told you that they've got all the air filters for your air conditioner to run efficiently. Now, I would suggest today they're going to do a landfall business. It's going to be fantastic. People running in, they're going, they said 100 degrees. Give me some air filters. Well, by golly, they've got them all for you at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, open at 7:30 in the morning till 5 Monday through Friday, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. And somebody else that I want to talk about real quick, and that's Valley White Home and Ranch. They're located, as you know, at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. But the bugs are out. The flies are out. I mean, man, the bugs are all over. They're coming in through somehow in my screen here. And I tell you what, Valley White Home and Ranch has got tons. That's what Mandy said, tons of fly spray and bug spray. And those doggone nasty bugs and flies, whoop, they're dead. Get them. Anyway, get over there and check out that fly spray and bug spray at Valley White Home and Ranch. And check out all the great buys that they've got over there. Remember, 4-H'ers get a 10% discount, and we're getting closer and closer to fair season, and that's going to last all the way through fair season. So, and then they've got a fantastic fishing department over there. I mean, even the worms, even the licenses at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valley White Home and Ranch. Last week on the program, we had some interesting questions that were posed to you, the audience, to chime in and let us know your thoughts. And I'd like you to do the same thing this week. I would really like to know if you think that the Confederate flag should be taken down, disposed of, burned, and every single copy of the Confederate flag, excuse me for the cough, even in certain museums, be taken away from viewing. What do you think? Now, let's be honest and fair in this situation. This absolute weirdo, this 21-year-old punk without any brains or common sense that wreaked havoc on Charleston, South Carolina last week with that terrible, absolutely horrific shooting. And there was a picture of him that they found of him holding a pistol and holding a small little Confederate flag. My question is to you, do you automatically take away the South, free speech, and their heritage? And is it automatically what comes to your mind when you see the Confederate flag as racism and slavery? Now, I got to be honest with you. I've said this before on this program. That's the last thing that comes to my mind. Seriously, I think of the conflagration between the southern states and the northern states, which was an economic problem, and it was exacerbated because of the North imposing all this on the South, and the South feeling like they had to make retribution. And you can go on and on about the reasons of the Civil War, the war between the North and the South. But do you honestly, when you think about that Confederate flag and see that stars and bars, do you automatically think slavery and racism? And does the seeing of the Confederate stars and bars today cause racism and bring back feelings that whites are better than blacks? Give me a call on that. I want to see what your attitude is. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Pardon my cough this morning. A hay fever's got me a little bit. A little bit? Are you kidding me? It's got a stranglehold on me this morning. Anyway, don't forget Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. We had a wonderful, fantastic lunch bunch last week, and everybody celebrated June Dairy Month. They all got a cow. They all got a cowbell. Hang on, I'll prove it to you. There's the cowbell and everything. We really had a good time with Thomas and Terry and the whole crew. Thomas even got a doormat. I love milk. You better believe it. Hey, Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. They're open for the best of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they also have a new location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls, serving you the best of food at Denny's Restaurant. You stop in and see them today. Absolutely great, great food. While we have just a minute, too, I want to tell you a little bit about Berry Equipment and Rental. Now, these guys and gals are really putting forth their best effort. Now, last Friday they had an open house, and I had a lot of people call me and say what a nice bunch of folks they are at Berry Equipment and Rental. Caller, I'll be right there. And you better check out the 0% financing until June 30th on Walker mowers. Ooh, those Walker mowers. I would love to get one of those. No payment for up to 120 days. You stop in for all your equipment needs at Berry Equipment and Rental. 3 locations, Addison Avenue West, Twin Falls, South Lincoln, Jerome, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Berry Equipment and Rental. Good morning. You're on the air.
Okie dokie. You're talking about the Confederate flag.
Yeah, I am. I am.
Huh?
I am, yeah.
All right. Then if they were going to be that way about the Confederate flag, which is just as important as anybody else's flag, then let's take down the NAACP flag, the Black Panthers, and them other people, and the Muslim flags and all that stuff. They're so offensive.
Yeah, now there right there is the key to what I was looking for in this story. Once you start a discriminatory approach to these flags or whatever and say, well, they've got to be banned, you have taken the First Amendment and you've drop-kicked it through the goalpost, never to be kicked again, because it's going to be the ruination of free speech. And I think that the Southern heritage, and you timed it very well, Al, with your call, with all these other flags and all these other meanings, how can you stop one without making a litany of cleansing on all the others?
That's right. Just look at the way that, them other people that are underneath these other flags. I mentioned one of them, the Black Panthers. They're not so squeaky clean. No way in hell are they that clean.
Well, there's a big push for it right now, as you well know. The Confederate flag, with most of the left, the Democrats, etc., are absolutely incensed because of the picture of this absolute insane, weird killer, 21-year-old, that did what he did in South Carolina. It was despicable. But, there are those that are going to tie that in. Now, had he been sitting there, seriously, Al, with a pistol in one hand and the American flag in the other, what then?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just coming worse and worse and worse. But I spent a lot of time down south, and there were some of the nicest people there is in the world. And you can't just say, well, Confederate flag has got to go.
Al,
the next thing you're going to be do is quit stomping on our flag and take it down. When that happens, I'm going to be a damn mad Irishman.
You said you spent a lot of time down south. I've spent many, many instances down south. And I had an occasion one time to tour a Confederate cemetery. And it was while I was doing a rodeo down in Sikeston, Missouri. And the person that gave me kind of a guided tour was telling me about how all the relatives that lived within certain areas of that Sikeston area were talking about, well, he fought, this was his great-great-uncle and this and that. And there's a lot of heritage and there's a lot of history, but the Confederate flag means a lot to those people down in the South.
It's just like our flag. They think a lot of it, and then they still support the American flag.
Absolutely.
I know that for a fact. So anyway.
All right, Al, thank you so much for your call. Appreciate it. What are your thoughts? Should we all of a sudden just ban the Confederate flag and absolutely take it down everywhere, or leave it up to the states? Leave it up to the states like South Carolina. Leave it up to other states that it's part of their history, part of their heritage. What are your thoughts? Tell me about it. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I want to remind you at 9:45 this morning, we're going to have our segment with Ron Ellis and BASF. And, of course, BASF, always with excellent research for the best of growing crops here in Idaho and across the country. And don't forget Preaxor for your potatoes. And, of course, white mold will be an issue with potatoes, and BASF can help control the problems also with Preaxor and Endura. You bet. Ron's going to be talking about that later on this morning. And the sugar beets are off to a great start, and don't forget, you can make sure that your sugar beets are going to be much better and grow better with Preaxor, containing headline enzemium, giving really good control of the powdery mildew. All of this and more from BASF. Excellent research for growing better crops. And Ron Ellis, 431-6776. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This doggone cough of mine this morning, when hay fever season starts, yup, we got a little problem here. And let's see, what else do I want to remind you of? The Rupert 4th of July celebration is going to be starting on June 30th, right over there in Rupert on the Square, with the Christmas in July breakfast at 6 o'clock in the morning. I wish I could be there to eat and then come back and be on the air. And they're going to have all kinds of food booths and everything. And then that night on the 30th, a fireworks display by the Rupert City Fire and Rescue. And it goes on all the way through the 4th of July. Lots of fun for you and the family. Ice cream, fireworks, all kinds of fun. And the theme this year, Salute Our Troops. This year's theme of Rupert's 4th of July celebration. Don't you miss it. It's always top class, first class, with the best of entertainment for you and your family. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Should the Confederate flag be banned? I mean, should it be absolutely obscured? Should it be banned from maybe like the Dukes of Hazzard, having it painted on the top of their car? Should it be banned from anywhere from eyesight? Or is that another chink in the armor against our free speech in this country? What are your thoughts? Let me know. I'd like to hear what you have to say. And, boy, there's a lot of people in the South. You don't want to mess with that Southern Stars and Bars. No way. Give me a call. Let me know what you think. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, speaking of Charleston, South Carolina, and I mean this, I have never had the occasion to go to Charleston, South Carolina. That's one major city that I have not been to, and I've heard so many good things about it. The hospitality, the beauty of the city, the charm of the city and everything, the heritage of the city, and extremely friendly southern city. And they showed us all about respect, love, and forgiveness over the weekend as they mourned the killing of 9 of their neighbors in Charleston. And yet over 20,000 people showed up to have a march of solidarity and show, like I said a moment ago, the love, the respect, and the forgiveness. We could all learn from how Charleston, South Carolina got together, the key word being together, and showed that love and respect. It was absolutely amazing. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I think what we'll do right now is have the Capitol Press Ag Minute. And, of course, that's brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology. And I'm going to be seeing the lovely doctor of audiology, Christine Pickup, this week. And her office is right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. And the number to call for a hearing screening, I highly suggest you do so, 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. And I'll say it again, I've said it before, hearing loss is not normal. No, it's not. And if you have a hearing problem, contact this lady, Christine Pickup, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. You will be glad you did. Right now, here's the Capitol Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capitol Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Representatives of the Region State Wheat Agency say the Pacific Northwest farmers are likely to begin harvesting early. Harvest in drier areas of Oregon could begin this week, says the CEO of the Oregon Wheat Commission. Most areas are probably 2 or 3 weeks ahead of normal. The executive director of the Idaho Wheat Commission say that harvest is running ahead of schedule in Idaho. Harvest usually begins at the latter part of July, but it could be in full swing by then this year. The Washington crop is 2 or 3 weeks ahead of schedule, said the director of communication for the Washington Grain Commission. Harvest in Washington usually begins in drier areas after July 4th. For the Capitol Press Ag Minute, I am Raul Peña.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capitol Press, and Capitol Press.
I'm telling you, folks, we thank Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. Protect your hearing and have a hearing screening. You call her today. You know what we're going to do right now is give away a half dozen absolutely fantastic cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox. Yes, sirree, Bobby. And Sophie's Chatterbox is located at 530 East Street, right on the square in Rupert. Open 6 to 6 weekdays, 6 to 2 on weekends. Excellent food, and what a bakery. And this is only for people that have never won before. Don't try to hoard all the cinnamon rolls, even though I'd like to. All you have to do is answer this question, and this morning is going to be an easy one. I mean, really easy. All you have to do is call me at 436-2244 and tell me what UDI stands for. In this June Dairy Month, what does UDI stand for? Give me the exact words, and you will win a half dozen absolutely fantabulous cinnamon cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street on the Square in Rupert. What does UDI stand for regarding June Dairy Month? Give me a call. Come on, fast. Give me a call right now, and we'll see if you can be the lucky winner of a half dozen cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox. Oh, that's easy. This is the easiest question I have ever asked on this program, I think. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, United Dairyman of Idaho.
Who is this?
This is Dell Louder.
Dell Louder. Where are you from, Dell?
Rupert.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dell, you have just won yourself a half dozen delicious, nice and gooey, tasty, wonderful cinnamon rolls at Sophie's Chatterbox. You just make the arrangements, call them, tell them when you're going to be in there, they'll have them ready for you, okay?
All right, thank you very much.
You bet, Dell. Thank you very much for listening. Oh, man, those are good cinnamon rolls. They're about the size of a Spalding football, each one of them. I mean, they're absolutely delicious. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What kind of a person is Hillary Clinton? I mean, I have got on the air, and I've really chastised her for being her. She is not friendly. She is very arrogant. She is very selfish. She is extremely within herself, withdrawn. And you could go on and on and on about her personal attributes, none of which are good to be the President of the United States. None. And I'm going to give you another example. That's why I'm leading up to this. She just recently charged the Boys and Girls Club of America $200,000 to speak at their convention, their fundraiser convention. Fundraiser convention, keywords. She charged them $200,000 to speak. And then when it was over, she folded her little tablet, walked off the stage, did not shake hands with any of the leadership of the Boys and Girls Club, did not say thank you to anybody, just walked off the podium, didn't say anything or shake hands with anybody, nothing, nada, and never made a donation to that charity. And you're going, oh, well, she's paid to speak, and she's a presidential candidate. She must have been busy, blah, 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 blah. Let's cover it up. Let's give her all the excuses. But I want to go back, and I found this out with some friends of mine that work on all these different happenings in the past. And 6 years ago, Condoleezza Rice, yep, remember her, a very, very sharp lady from the Bush administration. Condoleezza Rice had been asked to do the same speech at the Boys and Girls Club, and she donated her speaker's fee back to the charity. Big difference there, isn't there? Democrats, why? She'll come out and Hillary will absolutely try to destroy anybody that makes money in this country. Why? She'll destroy the CEOs. She'll destroy the capitalist theory. Oh, my. But she kept all the money in her purse, whereas Republican Condoleezza Rice donated her fee back to charity. Says a lot about old Hillary, doesn't it? I'll be darned. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, don't forget Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport, and they've got all your remodeling projects ready. They got all the equipment. They got everything. They've got those those western windows. Oh, those are good windows. Keep the cold outside, keep the heat outside, and boy, they're really acclimated to helping you live more comfortably with those western windows. And they got all your lumber packages, and they've got a carpet, and they've got the Tartar Farm and Ranch gates and panels. Oh my goodness, they got everything. Old Zach and the rest of the crew serving you at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, and they bring you on Tuesdays Dr. History. Don't you forget that. Calls are welcome, and while we're waiting for your call, I know that old Wheels over at the station, he's doing a fantabulous job, and he's got his finger right on the button for the Silver State Stampede.
Nevada's oldest rodeo, the Silver State Stampede, thunders into Elko July 9th, 10th, and 11th for family entertainment at its best. This PRCA-sanctioned rodeo brings you the thrill of rodeo riders going head-to-head in one of the world's toughest sports, rodeo. The action kicks off on Thursday with the annual kickoff party, including a tri-tip dinner, mutton busting, the Old West bronc riding, and dancing to the music of the Jeff Palmer Band. Things heat up on Friday and Saturday with PRCA rodeo action, the Ring of Fear, mutton busing, and all the fun, music, and dancing you can handle. And don't forget on Saturday, it's tough enough to wear pink. Pick up your tickets today at Roy's, the J.M. Capriola Company, the Boot Barn, IFA, or the Elko Chamber Office. Nevada's oldest rodeo, the Silver State Stampede, thundering into Elko July 9th, 10th, and 11th. Family entertainment at its very best.
I'll go along with that. We have a ripping good time in Elko. That's going to be a lot of fun. Come on, give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. When you're in this kind of a business and you have a talk show, you can't run and hide from various subjects that might make someone upset at the talk show host. I'm not going to run and hide either. I'm just going to directly approach this problem and tell you my thoughts. I think that what happened last week with Pope Francis getting involved in the climate change debate and issuing an encyclical when I think he should have talked only about how the world is polluting, whether it's around the world. The United States has cleaned up its act, more so than anybody else. But around the world, like in Rio de Janeiro and other places, the water is so filthy, open sewage pits going into the water, etc. He would have been better served if he had talked about the pollution factor than he would have by weighing in on global warming. I think he made a huge mistake, and he was wrong. Now, also, he's coming out on gun control. And we're starting to see an extremely liberal position by the Pope Francis. And I'll tell you what, I've talked to a lot of Catholics. I've called a lot of Catholics around the United States and just asked them point blank blunt what they thought of this, and they are enraged. I have not met one single Catholic that I've talked to on the phone or locally that is in favor of his remarks and what he has done and said. What are your thoughts about Pope Francis? Extremely liberal and causing great concern right now. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587 on a beautiful Monday morning. Give us a jingle. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Holy smoke, somebody check the plug on the phone to make sure that everything's okay. Don't forget, coming up this next weekend, oh my, Maverick presents the 40th Annual Idaho Regatta. It is going to be fantabulous, and it's going to start actually on Thursday with the Show and Shine and Fish Fry over at Rupert, and my goodness sakes, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the best of boat parades. I really learned a lot about boat racing and everything. Mark Moyle was on the air, and then we had that gentleman from Australia last week. Oh my goodness, this is going to be good times right there at the Burley Golf Course Marina this weekend. Coming up, don't miss it, the 40th Annual Idaho Regatta. Absolutely a lot of fun for the entire family. All right, now give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The VA is not doing its job. Now, I have had veterans say that the Boise VA is doing excellent work. Well, that's not to lump them in with the negatives going on with our Veterans Administration and how our vets are being taken care of. On the average, and this was astounding to me, caller, I'll be right there, stand by. On the average, they have checked into this ever since Obama said that he was going to make changes and clean up the VA. It's still taking even worse time, 50% longer for our vets to get medical attention. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Do you know, when you talk about Hillary and her speaking fees and this sort of thing, makes me wonder if she isn't just putting that money in her pocket rather than using it for her campaign. Because she and Bill think that they were so poor that they've got to aggrandize themselves.
You know, Chris, there never was, never, and I'll underline this. Somebody's got to prove it to me, and I don't think anybody can. There never was any time when the Clintons, Bill and Hillary, suffered through a financial hardship with the quote-unquote not being able to pay their bills. Don't give me that, anybody, because that's not true. The financial records show that millions upon millions of dollars have flowed through the office of the presidency while he was president, and then afterwards with speaking engagements and speaking tours, and they're never going to see a bad day. No.
And I think when you're going to speak to a place, like the Boys and Girls Club, I think she figures that is her speaking fee, and she takes that home and puts it in her private bank account.
Yeah, but
I don't think that she's using that for campaign money.
Well, I don't either. I think that's all going in, and they'll say that they're probably sliding it into the Clinton Foundation to where funds can be used and disseminated to other groups. Oh, come on. I wasn't born last night, and we all can understand that. Look at the difference in personalities. Look at Hillary as I'll call her Miss Frumpy. Somebody was offended because I'll call her Miss Frumpy, but she looks like she's mad all the time. Because she is. She looks like she's absolutely just had a bad bunch of pasta or whatever. And this woman's attitude, she was asked to speak for the Boys and Girls Club, and it's a charity event, and she can't give something back to them, as conversely talking about Condoleezza Rice, and she donated her speaker's fee? What kind of a woman is Hillary anyway?
Well, you just told me. You just told everybody what kind of a woman she is. She is in it for her, and when hopefully we don't have to have her for a president, but if we do, she's going to walk away from the presidency, and she and Bill are going to just be flush with money. I don't know how it happens, but this is one of the cases. And $200,000 speaking fee to the Boys and Girls Club?
Yeah.
Isn't that a charity itself?
It is, and I'm very upset about this. But when you talk about Hillary, and I asked you this on this program last week, Chris, you probably run into a lot of people at your church. You probably run into a lot of people because of your farm work, etc., and are talking to them. How can anybody be supportive of Hillary Clinton for the nomination of being president?
Well, we're Southern Idaho, for the most part, conservative. I have a feeling that we're not going to run into too many people that are really care if she runs for president or not.
Well, and that's the problem, though, because I think we should, no matter if it's here in Southern Idaho or whether it's in California or whether it's in New Hampshire, whether it's in Texas or Wisconsin, everybody, I'd like to hear a reason as to why they would want someone that is so introverted for herself and her own gain, and what attributes she really has to become president of the United States, and I come up with all negatives.
Well, I wish that some of those people would call your show.
I do too.
But they're not listening.
Well, it's surprising, though. Sometimes I believe they are because of little circumstances that happen maybe a day after or 2 days after a certain show.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, they don't show me, and I'll say this to you, and I think you'll understand. When they being the Democratic Party, have been invited to come on this program and very professionally explain their platform, explain their views, explain why they are the diminished party in the state of Idaho and what's causing that. And you give them the opportunity for airtime, and you call the leadership like I did with Ms. Silvers over in Jerome a couple of years ago, and they hang up the phone on you. What does that tell you?
Well, that tells you that apparently they don't want to take the opportunity to get their position out.
Yeah, and it also shows me conceit. And I don't like conceited people. I try to make sure that I never act that way to anyone. And when you all of a sudden think you're better than somebody, then naturally the roof's going to cave in on you.
Yeah. Well, I you know what? Hillary is going to have to face her maker in the end, and we'll see how well she does.
I agree. Chris, I heard the dog barking. You got somebody at the door. God bless. Have a good day.
Somebody went by.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Hey, keep up the good work.
All right. Thank you much. Don't forget, we got to get to our weather forecast real quick. Holy cow, and calls will be welcome. And our weather is brought to you by Mad River Laser. June weddings and all the 4th of July parades are coming up and everything, and you can have your business promotional items made up. Oh, and they got those buck knives. You can give one to someone with the engraving and the inscription on the blade. Oh, my goodness. They just do a wonderful job at Mad River Laser. All the caps, all the T-shirts, all the jackets, everything to promote your business at Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert, 436-2293. Here now, the weather.
Here's your weather forecast for Zebeth Ranch. Looks like a high-pressure system is in place for the rest of the week. Sunny skies for today. High right near 85, slightly breezy. Winds out of the west right around 10 miles an hour. Tonight, expect a low near 53. Now, tomorrow, still slightly breezy, but the temperature is going to go up. Sunny skies, high of 89 with an overnight low of 55. For Wednesday, sunny skies, high of 91 as we move closer to the weekend. Looks like highs are going to be in the mid-90s. Could see triple digits as we get on into the weekend. That's your weather forecast for Zebeth Ranch.
Thank you very much. And right now, we want to say thanks again to a wonderful lady, Nicole, and the rest of the gang at Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-2293. All right, give us a call, 436-2244 right now on the program. Give us a call. What are your thoughts about Hillary and her, I don't know, smugness, arrogance, holier-than-thou attitude? And really, I would like somebody to call me and tell me one attribute, one really great attribute that she has to perhaps, and I shudder at this, be the President of the United States. Why? Why would you vote for her? We took a poll, I'm sure you remember this, last week on this program, and I asked the question. I said simply, if it were down to Donald Trump on one side of the docket and Hillary Clinton on the other, who would you vote for and why? Not one. And Democrats, if you're listening, not one person that called, and we had a whole bunch of phone calls coming in a short period of time, not one said they would vote for Hillary. Okay. Hey, don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, right behind Dr. Crane's office. I absolutely implore you that if you're not feeling like yourself, maybe you had a broken arm, broken leg, things aren't coming back the way you thought, maybe you're having some problems trying to get back into the swing of things after a surgery, oh my. Nick Greenwell and the rest of his physical therapists can help you get back to being you. I urge you to give them a call for an appointment today. 678-1191. I'll say that number again, 678-1191. They are the best. Please call them today. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. All right, now give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. A few moments ago, I was talking about the VA, and it's really a sad story that I heard this morning, is that the VA, on an average, is nationally taking 50% longer for our vets to get their medical attention. 50% longer. And here we had all that hubbub. We had all that hullabaloo. We had everything, and Obama jumped into the fray and promised a revamp of the VA. And now it is worse. And a lot of people have said, what? There were no changes. I mean, they just kind of mishmashed and pieced together kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. Certain people to do this and certain people to do that and certain leadership here, and it's failed miserably. And here's the part that really scared me. I had no idea. The VA has a budget of $160 billion. That is with a B, $160 billion a year. That's their budget. And they have a $3 billion, with a B, $3 billion shortfall. What's going on here that people can't manage the money, can't manage the services to our veterans? And I want to make it very poignantly clear. I am not criticizing Boise or any one VA center. No. Because there are certain instances where they're getting treated very, very well. But on the whole, on the average, across the board, that when they did the studies, it's taking 50% longer for our vets to get the medical attention they need, they deserve, and they should have. And that is not right. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I don't know if you saw this picture or not, but Deanna and I were watching the news early this morning at 4:30. And if you get a chance, try to look it up on your computer or whatever, and I'm sure that certain newspapers have already carried it. But a photo was taken by an AP, Associated Press photographer, at a speech that Ted Cruz was giving. Now, in the background, and I'm making an assumption here, and I hope I'm right, but in the background, on the walls, were certain types of pistols and revolvers and everything that were on those, like, promotional items, etc. And the photographer for the AP managed to get at an angle to where he got a headshot, side shot of Ted Cruz's face, and in the picture was a pistol on the wall on a cardboard, kind of a high gloss type thing, and it made it look like the pistol was sticking right in front of the forehead, right between the eyes of Ted Cruz. And it gave you a very unsettling feeling when you looked at the picture of Ted Cruz and then the picture of the pistol right up against his forehead like he was going to be shot between the eyes. And it was a very distasteful picture that had been photoshopped a little bit and altered by the AP. But they would never, and you can't prove me wrong on this, they would never do that to Obama and or Hillary Clinton. As a matter of fact, there's been a lot of people that have said that the photographs, many of which are on the internet and everything else, about Obama and supposedly with kind of a halo over his head. I mean, come on, please. A halo. And never again would they ever have anything like a pistol up against the forehead of Obama and or Hillary. But it's okay for them to do this type of thing with the AP with a Republican presidential candidate. Don't forget our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my. Ready for summer travel? Well, I'll tell you what, at all 7 locations, they offer the free pre-trip safety check. You check it out before you go to see Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred and the rest of the family. And always, always great tire buys. All the different tires for all the different driving needs for you, whether it's your pickup, your SUV, your car, horse trailer, boat trailer, whatever, they've got them all. Got them all right there at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And the best in brake service, too. I mean, these people really know what they're doing with the brakes. Front end alignments, shocks and struts, batteries, service. Service reigns supreme and numero uno at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely the best. Warm week ahead. And thank you very much to Gina and her weather forecast that she provided for us on this program. And they're calling for sunny skies all the way through the week and warm temperatures. As a matter of fact, be careful out there and hydrate yourself. And by the way, make sure your puppy dogs and all your livestock have adequate water supplies, because they're calling by Thursday we might see a 0% chance of precipitation, but highs over 101 degrees, and so it's going to get a little warm for the next couple of days. We're going to take a break now. Here's what we got cooking for the rest of the morning this morning. Next hour at 9:06, we're going to have my old buddy Doug Johnson on the air from Colorado. And then at 9:30, Carrie Kupek with Alliance Defending Freedom. And then at 9:46 this morning, my old friend Ron Ellis talking about how to help Idaho grow bigger and stronger crops, the best for you, with BASF. Then at 10:06 this morning, Dan Kish with the IER, Institute for Energy Research. Don't miss that interview, because he's going to be talking about how Obama's climate change program is going to hit your billfold and really make it hurt. And then at 10:30 this morning, George Mass is going to be on the program with the Rupert POW MIA. Caller, 30 seconds, fast, go, real quick.
Okay, our country is in extreme danger of being taken over by the enemy. Now, anybody that advocates gun control and stripping the people of our weapons to protect ourselves for is no better than the enemy.
Absolutely. Tony, good to hear from you. Call earlier next time so I don't have to cut you off, okay?
Oh, it's quite all right.
All right, buddy. Thanks. We got to run to the news. I'll be back in 6. God bless. Have a good day. Zeb at the Ranch. Oh, my. Here we go. Hour number 2 on a beautiful look out the window. I wished I was doing this on the sun deck this morning. It's beautiful outside. Zeb at the Ranch and our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valley-Wide. And our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always sure to show the Western Waste Services. We care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh my, get on the route service to get rid of your garbage, and great timely route service too. They really are good. And don't forget, they've got all the dumpsters in various sizes, and you can fill them up and then call them and they'll come get them. You better believe it. And don't forget too, the Go Minis storage units. Oh my goodness, all of this and more at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, locally owned and operated. Number to call, 734-6969. The best, Western Waste Services. Absolutely. Oh, by the way, too, don't forget, every morning we start the show off with a weather forecast that's brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, with all the carpet and the flooring and the kitchen construction, home decor items. Oh, my. Kyle and Whitney do a really nice job making your house a home. So give them a call today or stop in 678-6945. Look for the blue door, Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And before we get our guest on the air this morning, my good old buddy Doug Johnson, I want to remind you about our friends at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Joel Heward, his family and staff, always serving you with flexible hours to be there when you need them. Absolutely. And they'll go and travel to the rural towns and churches, too, to help you with the arrangements when there's the passing of a loved one. Please remember this number, 436-5636, 436-5636, and always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. They are wonderful people. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. Right now, we say a very special good morning to our dear friend Doug Johnson. Good morning, Doug. How are you today?
I'm good, Zeb. How are you this morning?
Not bad. I don't know what the weather's like back in Colorado, but we are blessed right now with absolutely beautiful blue skies, hardly any clouds, and it looks like it's going to be warm all weekend long.
Yeah, we had a warm weekend, another warm day today, then the temperature starts to drop again. We're actually a little hot right now for us, but it's very nice. It's very classic Colorado weather.
Doug, I want to ask you this morning, and we're going to kind of shoot a potpourri of different subjects out here this morning. You're good at that, shooting from the hip. Gun control and climate change both have been endorsed in the recent couple of last weeks by Pope Francis. And it seems like the Pope has fallen right into lockstep with the liberals and especially Obama. And with his encyclical and everything else on climate change, and now coming out and speaking out about guns and gun ownership, gun manufacturing, etc. I'm a little bit concerned what's going on. And to preface my remarks prior to yours, every single Catholic that I've talked to across the United States, many of them and many locally, have voiced displeasure with what he had said.
Well, they should. And people may not like this, but I'll just cut to the chase. The Pope is a Marxist. It's that simple. And he believes in all of the social things that the Democrats do, that the progressives do. He's a progressive Marxist. So he believes in one world government. He believes in fact, let me go specifically to the issue he addressed with climate change real quickly. By saying that we should have all this concern for global warming and this nonsense that has already been proven over and over again as false, he not only shows his lack of knowledge about it, but what's interesting is the head guy in the Vatican that he's appointed is taking the stand that we really need 6 billion fewer people on this planet. Mm-hmm. This is classic Agenda 21 UN progressive Marxist stuff. And what's interesting is it does not at all mesh with the religion this Pope claims to be part of. And I frankly, at the risk of offending some of your audience who may be Catholic, I don't believe he is what he claims to be.
Well, I want to just...
in fact, I think he's one of the worst things to happen to their church in a long time.
I want to just say this. Doug, let me interrupt you right there.
Go ahead.
I want to just say something as an interruption, and my apologies for the interruption.
Okay.
Never on this program have I ever gone out with a bent towards saying something negative about someone's religion. I don't believe in that. Everyone has the right to worship and choose the denomination and or religion of their choice. However, this is not a religious story. This is a story about what's going on to possibly curtail freedoms and rights that are afforded us through our Constitution, and that's why I think this is a very important story. Would you agree with that remark?
Yeah, I would, and I would also say that for people who are struggling, the easiest way to see that his view does not hold water is very simply that he believes in a finite resources in the earth, and that the earth is a fragile thing. The Bible teaches that the earth was created for man, and we are to use it and enjoy it. We're not to abuse it. We are responsible for it. But nowhere in Scripture does it tell us to just make sure you don't use too much of this or too much of that.
Right.
So I get kind of upset when I hear this stuff, and I think it's sad because it throws their entire church into turmoil. Obviously, all the Democrats who claim to be Catholic love it. But I will say one other thing, though, and this is interesting. The mainstream media and the Democrats are not picking up on this. At least they're probably not reading enough to know. But if you look closely at the encyclical, it also says some other things. For example, it also speaks out heavily against abortion, and the sanctity of life is highly discussed. And so I think that, it's interesting how the left will choose the things they want out of what he says, but not the things they don't want. They don't tell you about those.
Well, yeah, I agree with everything you just said this morning. I think we're kind of joined at the lip on that, if you will. But I think, and I said this first hour, and I want to get your response to this, I think Pope Francis would have been better served, and his remarks would have been better received and also appreciated had he talked about pollution that's going on across the globe, especially the likes of cities like Rio de Janeiro and many others, where there has not been any attempt to curb pollution, and I think that would have been better serving.
Well, it would have, but, to me, Zeb, wishing for that is like wishing that Obama would actually care about things that most Americans care about. There is an ulterior motive behind what this Pope and the people he's brought up beside him want to do, and they basically want to take and redistribute wealth throughout the world, and their viewpoints, their Marxist viewpoints, point to a very bad thing for the world. And so if I were a Catholic, I would be very, very concerned about what the leader of my church was doing. And so I think that, when we talk about people, be it the Pope, be it the President or anybody else, we always have to look at their motives, why they're doing things. And when we see why they're doing things, it makes some of our feelings more wishes than anything else. So when we sit and we say, well, I wish Hillary Clinton cared what happened in Benghazi, well, that's not who Hillary Clinton is. She couldn't care less. All Hillary Clinton cares about is herself. So I think, and the other thing I do want to make a quick comment about, I understand the Pope has also come out and said that, he's challenged the Christianity of people who manufacture guns and such, and I won't say it on the air. There's nothing foul in it. It's just probably offensive to a lot of people. But I had a very negative reaction to that because I don't think he's one to judge based on what I see. So I think that conservatives should have a concern. I think the other thing we should be concerned about is that there are a lot of Catholics who have taken over key spots in the media. And so they're going to use, if they agree with him, they're going to use that to try and push that on America as what the Catholic Church teaches, and that's what everybody should embrace.
There is another subject in the news, and I wish we had hours to talk about this, because I am against the Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement. And oh my, you should have heard some of the calls. Oh my, you should have read some of the emails that I've received of people criticizing me, saying, what's the matter with you? Why, your Republican friends are in favor of this. What have you done? Have you switched to go over to the Democratic side? No, I have not. And I've been emphatic about this. I have read between the lines. I have read what little information is available about the Trans-Pacific trade deal, and I'll tell you right now, Doug, I don't know what your feelings are, but I'm against it, and I'm sick and tired of all these revotes until they get it pushed through.
Well, of course, we talked about it last week, at which point we both agreed that we were against it. I think anybody who's for it is foolish, and I was a huge Ted Cruz supporter until he supported it, and now I absolutely will not support him. I have dropped him entirely. I heard a radio host on another show here locally last week get into a discussion saying he really loved Ted Cruz, but he was disappointed by this. And the guest he had, who was somebody out of Washington, a Republican out of Washington, said, well, we have to look at the whole of a candidate and say that, some things we may not agree on, but overall, how are we? And Zeb, I was yelling at the radio, and I don't usually do that, because there are some things that are non-negotiable.
Right.
And this is one of them. This is devastating to America.
I agree.
This will end America's industry and business as we know it. This will do terrible things to America. And people who don't realize it are not doing their homework. This is a really bad thing. And the fact that Paul Ryan and the Republicans would do exactly what Nancy Pelosi did with Obamacare and take another bill, in this case it was a bill regarding police and fire protection, and pull something out and slip it through and get it passed, shows how dishonest the Republicans are. I have not had a chance this weekend. I'm going to this week be working on a piece, and this issue with the trade agreement is the basis of it. But it really, what it boils down to is the question I'm asking is: Are we tired of being lied? When are we going to be tired of being lied to? Because that's all the Republicans do. The Republican Party, as a whole, with a limit of a very, very, very few people who are truly conservative, the rest of them are nothing but backstabbers and liars. And I would say it to their faces, Zeb. I am so angry right now because they have done nothing but thumb their noses at the American voters. And enough is enough. And it's time we take names. It's time we keep a list. And so when we see somebody do something like support this bill, that should be enough for us to say, next time around, you're done. It's over. You're not going to make up for this. You are done. And we end it because we cannot put up with this. This damages America, and we cannot allow it any longer.
Yeah, but Doug, I guess I could sum up my feelings about this trade bill in just a really short sentence or small paragraph. I don't like anything about a trade bill or any kind of a bill that is hidden, that has clandestine effects, that is made behind closed locked doors in a smoke-filled room, and nobody knows what's going on with it. Nobody says anything about, well, this is going to happen and this is going to happen. There is too much secrecy, and in this country, the United States of America, that should doom this bill from the get-go.
Well, any bill, no matter what's in it, good or bad, should be doomed immediately if it's not public and open. Without transparency, forget it. And Paul Ryan stood up and said exactly what Nancy Pelosi said about Obamacare. Paul Ryan said about Obama trade, we have to pass it to see what's in it. And Ted Cruz supported that. And Scott Walker supported that. And Marco Rubio supported it. And these people should not even be in office anymore as far as I'm concerned. I'm that angry because this will do such huge damage when you learn the details of the bill. What little we can learn from some people who are trusted, it's very scary. But going back to your original question, statement, Zeb, absolutely. If something is secret, I don't care if it's the best bill in the world. It should be stopped because it should be public, and because that's how America was built. We have a government of, for, and by the people, and right now the people have no part in it, and that's really, really wrong.
I don't know how you're going to stand on this next issue I want to talk to you about, but I'm going to go ahead and pose this to you. There was a tremendously egregious act that took place in Charleston, South Carolina this last week when a 21-year-old punk, worthless young punk, decided that he would go into a church and shoot 9 people, innocent people at a prayer meeting, etc. It's absolutely despicable. But in accordance with what happened, this young man had, they found a photograph of him that had been shot with him holding a pistol and also a very small Confederate flag. Now that ignited another big push for the Confederate flag, the stars and bars, to be banned from any viewing, not to be seen by human eyes in this country, and a demand that South Carolina take down the stars and bars from around their state house property. What are your thoughts about banning a part of the South heritage with the Confederate flag?
Well, believe it or not, you're actually asking a couple questions. And so my personal views and my political views are different. First, politically, I believe that if this is South Carolina's decision and nobody else's, and it's not up to the nation or anybody else to tell them what to do.
I agree.
This is up to the people of South Carolina. And just as much as somebody may say or do something I like or dislike, I will defend their right to say it because we have freedom of speech, freedom of expression in this country. If South Carolina wants to have that flag, that's their business in my mind. On the other side of that, as a Christian, I used to think differently until very recently. I used to think, well, it's historical and so on and so forth, and then I started to think about it differently. First, from a standpoint of friends I have a number of black friends, and I started to think of it in terms of how my Jewish friends feel about the Nazi flag and what it represents, or at least what it represents to them. And I started to realize, as I looked at my Bible, that frankly, in Romans we are taught that the thing we are supposed to do is we are not supposed to offend our brothers. And so if I have a brother, in other words, another Christian, and I know there are some, who are offended by that flag, then I shouldn't fly that flag. If I have a friend over who believes in their heart that it's wrong to eat meat, this is what the Scripture teaches, I shouldn't eat meat in front of them because that would be offensive to them. And the Scripture makes it very clear that is our priority. It's more important to not offend the brother than anything else. And so, that said, my view has become, on a personal level, that I don't think it's wise to have it around, maybe have it around for historical purposes, but to continually use it, I think offends people, and I think taking the path of less offense is a good choice. But I go back to my original statement, though, Zeb, I will defend to the death somebody's right to have it if they choose to, because that's America, and we are a pluralistic society, and I don't expect everybody to agree with me, so they certainly have a right to do what they want with it.
All right, now, I would say, and we only have about 3 minutes left, Doug, unfortunately, but I would say I would agree with most of what your last statement was, about 80%, but when it came to the not offending part of it, that opens up a Pandora's box and a plethora of problems today with political correctness. No matter what you say or do can be in some way assumed as offending by somebody, and PC has gone completely out of whack. No matter what I do, no matter what you do or say, somebody can be or will be offended, and we can't have a curtailment basically of putting duct tape over our mouths 24/7.
Well, I think, and it's understandable, I'm not trying to be coming back too strong, but I think you misunderstood what I said. I am looking at the biblical perspective of Christian to Christian, and I believe there are very few Christians in America. Let me first say that. But if somebody professes to be a Christian and they're offended by it, I have an obligation, according to Jesus, to not offend them. That's my obligation. It's not political correctness. When it comes to speaking, just to give you an idea of the other side of it, right now my candidate of choice is Donald Trump. There is nobody who's more outspoken in your face than him, and I defend him, and I agree with him doing it, because we need to have that kind of outspokenness. But we don't need to offend, and there's a difference when somebody says, well, I'm offended because of something ridiculous and politically correct, but we do have to admit that the South did have slavery. They fought for slavery. The Democrats fought to keep it, and have tried to keep it in their own weird ways over the years. And I can understand that could be offensive to somebody who had family or ancestors who lived through that and suffered through that. No different than I can not blame anybody who is Jewish from being offended by the swastika.
Yeah, but it's also...
I look at it that way, but once again, it's this balancing act, and I have to look at it. I don't look at the nation as Christian, but I know enough Christians who are offended by that flag that I would not fly it.
The only thing I would say to that, it's also offensive on the other side of the coin for those that have family matters and members that go to great-uncles, great-grandfathers, whatever, that were offended because they fought for more than just slavery by a lot of means. Let's be honest. There were trade sanctions, there were trade bills, there were economic sanctions, etc., that really created a stimulus for the war between the states, North and South. And I think for those attitudes to all of a sudden be quelled to where they can't look at their uncles, their grandfathers, their great aunts, and whatever it might be, and not have that flag because it's taken away as a matter of not having their free speech anymore, I think that's also offensive.
Well, once again, I never said take it away.
Yeah.
But I said on a personal level, I think it's a decision people have to make. I think South Carolina has the right. I think any individual has the right to have it. And I'll defend their right to have it to the death. But I personally think as a Christian, it would be wrong for me to offend somebody by having it.
Well, you know, Doug, it was a good discussion. I wished I had more time. It just went 30 minutes, went zip, and we're out the window. Doug Johnson in Colorado, I really appreciate your taking the time to come on the program, as always, my dear friend. And the very best, God's blessings to you, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Zeb. You have a great week.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Really good friend right there, and I appreciate him. Oh, my goodness sakes, I got to get this stuff in a hurry. Don't forget the Idaho Cattle Association celebrating 100 years. Feeding the Future, the ICA, the Idaho Cattle Association, going to have a great big industry convention and trade show July 14th through the 18th at the Riverside Hotel in Boise, and they're going to be having so much on their roster of fun things to do. Let me tell you, not only dinners, but rangeland tours. They're going to have golf tournaments. They're going to have all the meetings to keep the Idaho Cattle Association informed and abreast of what's going on. They do a wonderful job at the Industry Convention and Trade Show at the Riverside Hotel in Boise, July 14th through the 18th. 100 years of the Idaho Cattle Association. Also, real fast, we want to say thank you to our friends over at Rupert, their great big 4th of July celebration coming up. And it starts on June 30th, as a matter of fact, with this year's theme, Salute Our Troops. Very well thought. Thank you very much. Rupert's 4th of July celebration starting on June 30th with the Christmas in July breakfast starting at 6 a.m. in the city square. Oh, my goodness, along with all the delicious food booths. And then that night, they're going to have fireworks. Oh, my. And the 1st all the way through the 4th, all kinds of activities. I mean, music and carnivals. And on the 3rd, lawnmower races at the fairgrounds at 6 p.m. I'm telling you, don't miss a minute of it with Salute Our Troops, this year's theme of the Rupert 4th of July celebration. Absolutely a lot of fun for you and the entire family. You know, when you talk about fun, oh, by the way, I got to get this news note in here. Summer Series team roping, Dave Zanino and his lovely wife, Dawn, and I thank them for not only being our dear friends, but also what they do at the, Choke to Death, great big Summer Series going on Wednesday nights at the Jerome County Fairgrounds with this team roping, and this week they're going to be helping the Mini-Cassia Relay for Life, and we thank them very much. Sign up at 6:30, rope at 7, 3 for 25 draw pot. Dave Zanino, information 431-1263. Don't forget that. While we have just a quick moment, don't forget Let's Ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn. Number to call, 436-4771, where the fun is sold. Ho, ho, hot weather. I mean, we're talking hundreds this week. Time to get on the water with new watercraft from Let's Ride. Oh, my, they've got a dandy selection over there. And if you're heading for the mountains, don't forget they got all the 4x4s, too. All the sizes, all the different colors, everything for you, and all the accessories, too, at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn. Yep, where the fun is sold. Really good folks. Hey, Wheels, let's have a quick word for the Silver State Stampede.
Nevada's oldest rodeo, the Silver State Stampede, thunders into Elko July 9th, 10th, and 11th for family entertainment at its best. This PRCA-sanctioned rodeo brings you the thrill of rodeo riders going head-to-head in one of the world's toughest sports, rodeo. The action kicks off on Thursday with the annual kickoff party, including a tri-tip dinner, mutton busting, the Old West bronc riding, and dancing to the music of the Jeff Palmer Band. Things heat up on Friday and Saturday with PRCA rodeo action, the Ring of Fear, mutton busing, and all the fun, music, and dancing you can handle. And don't forget on Saturday, it's tough enough to wear pink. Pick up your tickets today at Roy's, the J.M. Capriola Company, the Boot Barn, IFA, or the Elko Chamber Office. Nevada's oldest rodeo, the Silver State Stampede, thundering into Elko July 9th, 10th, and 11th. Family entertainment at its very best.
Oh, thank you very much, Silver State Stampede. We're going to be down there looking forward to a lot of fun. And while we have just a moment, too, don't forget Highway 24 in Rupert, right there on the curve, Cameron and Siemens Insurance with Dean and Todd. All your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, they can and will help you. Get a hold of them today. Call for an appointment to make sure you are protected. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, serving you. Good morning to Carrie Kupek. How are you, Carrie? I'm running late. I'm sorry. How are you?
No problem. Good, doing well, Zeb. How about yourself?
Oh, where are you in Washington right now? Is that where you're calling from?
I am. I'm in Washington, D.C. In fact, I just got back from the Supreme Court.
Now, let me ask you, Washington, D.C. in the summertime, I've been there, and quite frankly, it was not an enjoyable experience with all the humidity. How hot is it right now?
It's pretty rough. I've been staking out the court on the days we are looking to receive opinions from them, and I'll tell you what, I've been about to pass out. It is hot.
All right. Well, Carrie, tell us, there seems to be a good note this morning that the United States Supreme Court has gone to the side of the right in Arizona. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this is a great decision for free speech, not just for our clients, but for really all Americans who love our First Amendment, fundamental freedom of speech. We received a decision from the Supreme Court last Thursday, 9-0, unanimous decision in favor of our client, Pastor Clyde Reed. I've been on your show to talk about the case before, but just a quick recap. This is a case out of Gilbert, Arizona, a little bit outside of Phoenix. And Pastor Clyde Reed is a pastor of a small little congregation there, and he uses those small little signs to direct people to his church services, because he often holds them in schools or other public buildings because they don't have a permanent home. I'm sure you know what signs I'm talking about. There have been a lot of people I know who have found churches because of these signs.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, the town of Gilbert had this really bizarre system of regulating town signs, which essentially was censoring and targeting the pastor's signs. If you were a politician or a homeowners association or other groups, you would have very, very large signs and have them up for up to months at a time. However, if you were Pastor Clyde Reed with your little church sign saying Good News Community Church this way, it had to be tiny and can only be up for a number of hours, which basically had him putting it up in the dark of night for a church service in the morning. And so obviously if you're putting something up at, say, 10 p.m. on a Saturday night for a 10 a.m. church service, nobody's going to even see it. And then he was required to take it down an hour after the service. Yet nobody else had to play by these rules, the politicians and everyone else. And so the Supreme Court took a look at this case, and the Ninth Circuit said that was okay, that it was okay for that town of Gilbert to discriminate against those signs with that religious speech on it like they were. Well, the Supreme Court said, no way. This is absolutely speech discrimination. He's being targeted, and 9-0, all justices said he should be able to have the same kind of rules as everybody else and put up his signs in a similar fashion.
I am a little bit more than shocked that you told me it was 9-0. When I look at the overall personalities on the Supreme Court, I would have thought you would have said maybe 6-3 or possibly even 5-4, but not a 9-0 in today's environment. Boy, that does shock me a little bit.
Yeah, and I think the court recognized that speech discrimination is speech discrimination. It doesn't matter why the government's doing it. It doesn't matter if they intended to do it or not. When the government engages in this kind of censorship and this kind of discrimination, it just can't fly. And so you had several concurring opinions. Justice Thomas was the one who wrote the majority, and he said the town's sign regulations as they stood were hopelessly under-inclusive. But some of the more interesting quotes from the opinion came from Justice Kagan, actually, in her concurrence, and what she said, because there are a number of tests, constitutional legal tests that someone has to go through in order to prove, government discrimination in this way. And she went through the test and she said, look, it doesn't pass this test, it doesn't pass this test, it doesn't even pass the last test, which I thought was pretty biting. And she also made a great point, because the town argued that the reason they were targeting Pastor Clyde Reed's sign, there were two reasons: town safety and town aesthetics. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen some of those gigantic political signs advertising for, someone running for a state legislature, but they tend to be pretty loud and pretty garish. And the town was saying, well, those are okay, but this little tiny sign that says Good News Community Church this way, is hurting the town aesthetics. And then it also said it was a problem for the town's safety. Well, Justice Kagan made a great point, which I completely agree with, saying, if you're really concerned about town safety, why are you making the signs essentially so small? I don't know how small signs help travelers find their way.
There's
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. We have a call, but go ahead and finish your point, please. Go ahead.
No, I was wanting to quote from Justice Kagan, because I just thought that point was great. It's like, come on, town safety? How in the world is a small sign on the side of the road? If anything, that's going to distract people, because they're going to be squinting and driving more slowly to see what the sign says. A bigger sign would actually help their concerns.
Absolutely.
So it's obviously a pretext. This is just a clear-cut case of government discrimination against this religious speech sign, and the court rightly recognized it as such.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a quick question. Go ahead, caller, please.
Yeah, quick comment. On the upcoming decision on the states and the health care, Obamacare, I know this is off the subject, but in this case, they all 9-0, and you say, well, this situation was pretty important. It's very important, don't get me wrong, but, in the grand scheme of things, the publicity will be a one-day event and very light, as opposed to what will happen with the Obamacare decision. And I find it kind of unique or interesting that there will be situational decisions or situational ethics, and these justices who were all for this now may change their tune otherwise, and I'll hang up.
Go ahead and respond to that if you would, Carrie. Thank you.
Seb, unfortunately, I wasn't able to hear any of the questions because of the connection. Could you possibly
I'm sorry, and hopefully, Wheels, you can correct that so that she can be able to hear that third-party caller. Basically, he was saying that, and I hope I can repeat it as such, is that with all the other court cases coming up and the Supreme Court unifying behind this, it's a good thing, but what's going to happen over Obamacare and everything else, we'll see how the court stands for that as far as our rights and how it's going to affect Americans. That's a general synopsis of what I think he said.
Yeah, it's a very good question, because right now we have 7 decisions left for this term for the Supreme Court, and right now it looks like this Thursday, they're going to be handing down decisions next, and they'll probably do Monday, and they may need another day. But obviously, the two of the biggest cases that people are thinking about is the King v. Burwell case, which is the Obamacare case, and then obviously Obergeville v. Hodges, which is the same-sex marriage case. It's hard to say. There have been a lot of predictions about the court will or will not do. I think with King v. Burwell, I think there's a good chance that the court may say, look, that the way that President Obama really overreached in his executive power, and I think there's a possibility that we could see a decision from the Supreme Court that really says that the way Obamacare was implemented is a real problem, and that there's some illegal components. So we could see the beginning of a real reform, or I know there are many who are even calling for a full repeal of Obamacare. So that we'll see with that. As far as the same-sex marriage cases, it's hard to speculate. Obviously, the justices made some very good comments during oral arguments on April 28th. In fact, they talked about the fact that, look, marriage has been recognized as a man-woman institution for millennia. This has never been something that's even been questioned until the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. And, obviously there are millions, over 50 million Americans who went to the ballot box to affirm marriage as one man, one woman. So this goes far beyond the issue of marriage. This goes to the very heart of democracy in terms of judges arbitrarily and unilaterally rejecting the people's vote. And so this goes, so for the court, if the court was to rule in favor of imposing same-sex marriage across the United States, it goes so far beyond marriage, because what they're doing is it's setting a precedent that says that judges can unilaterally eliminate and reject from the marketplace of ideas the people's voice.
Absolutely.
People who voice their opinions at the ballot box, which is the ultimate public opinion poll. And so it's going to be very interesting, and it's certainly going to be uncharted territories if the court decides to impose that radical redefinition across the United States.
You know, I've only got about a minute or two left here, Carrie, but I want to go back to this decision by the Supreme Court regarding Gilbert, Arizona. And I've got to ask, I think, an obvious question as to why the city and the leadership, if you want to call it that, of Gilbert, Arizona, wanted to push this as far as they did to the Supreme Court. What was it with the personality of the city and the town leaders that they wanted to push this thing to the hilt?
I think, Zeb, you're asking the million-dollar question. I don't know. And what was interesting about this case, at least when I first read it and read the facts, the kind of scenario that was presented in this case in Reed v. Gilbert is something that, when you go to law school, this is almost like a hypothetical they throw out in Constitutional Law 101. These are the kind of hypos they throw out as saying, hey, is this something called viewpoint discrimination? The government can't engage in viewpoint discrimination where they're picking and choosing, arbitrarily the messages of a speaker. And it flies in the face of the First Amendment. And so these are the kind of hypos that professors throw out that are actually pretty easy, where, the students would say, well, no, of course, that's viewpoint discrimination. It's very obvious. And so I was always kind of stunned that the case went as far as it did, and the Ninth Circuit, affirmed what the town did below. But that's why it was very encouraging to see all 9 justices turn around and say, I don't think so. This is clear-cut discrimination, and we're not going to stand for that.
Absolutely. Carrie Kupek with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Tell everyone how they can follow these stories and more with the ADF.
So they can go to alliancedefendingfreedom.org, or if they want to take a closer look at the legal documents, if they want to read some of these interesting quotes for themselves and look at the actual decision for this case, they can go to adsmedia.org.
God bless you, Carrie. Always a pleasure, and I hope you enjoy another very muggy, hot week in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
I'll try to survive. Thanks, Zeb.
Take care. God bless. Very nice lady, Carrie Kupek with the Alliance Defending Freedom, and thank you very much. Oh, my goodness sakes. Let's see. I got to get that over there and take care of that over there. There, we got that done. It's time for the weather. Got to get that in real quick. And the weather is brought to you by Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. Oh, my. Delicious meals. Great entertainment. Don't forget on Mondays, like today, the Old Duck Decoy Special. Quarter-pound burger, fries, and a drink. Only $6 for seniors 55 years of age and older. You be a part of it right now at Duck Uglies. Great food and nice people at 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. Here now is the weather forecast.
Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Looks like a high-pressure system is in place for the rest of the week. Sunny skies for today. High right near 85, slightly breezy. Winds out of the west right around 10 miles an hour. Tonight, expect a low near 53. Now, tomorrow, still slightly breezy, but the temperature is going to go up. Sunny skies, high of 89 with an overnight low of 55. For Wednesday, sunny skies, high of 91 as we move closer to the weekend. Looks like highs are going to be in the mid-90s. Could see triple digits as we get on into the weekend. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much. Brought to you by Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. Is that you, Ron, on the line? I'll be right with you if it is.
Yes, sir.
All right, stand right there. I'll be right with you. Don't go away. I also want to remind everybody about what's going on for the 4th of July over in Rupert, and thanks to many of their great merchants like Magic Valley Carpet at 613 D Street in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, just off the square. All of your flooring needs, carpet, hardwood, vinyl, laminate, tile, everything at Magic Valley Carpet in Rupert. Along with Haskin Insurance at 629 Fremont Street in Rupert. Oh, they bid you to have a happy and safe 4th 4th of July holiday. And don't forget, for all of your home, auto, farm, life, or health insurance, give them a call at 436-4141, Haskin Insurance. And last but not least, Doc Pizza. You better believe it, 514 6th Street in Rupert. Terrific pizza shop, and those cinnamon sticks are delicious. Open Monday through Saturday, 11 to 10. Doc's Pizza, wishing you a happy 4th of July. Right now, we're going to go to the phone lines, and we get a chance to visit on Mondays with a great friend of mine, and Ron Ellis with BASF. And BASF, excellent research to help Idaho crops grow bigger and better. Ron Ellis, how are you, my dear friend?
Doing great, Dad. I had a wonderful weekend with my grandkids, and looks like we got a great start to the week. The crops are just booming, and we're going to get hot. So I know that the biggest concern now is just making sure things have got water.
You know, Ron, let's talk a little bit about the crops. And no one that I know is more well-versed in studying crops, how they're doing, and what can be applied to make crops in Idaho grow bigger and better. But what about the potatoes? What about the sugar beets? How are they doing at this stage of the game right now towards the tail end of June?
Yeah, in general, they're doing really good. I mean, we had tremendous amount of rain in May, which was great for any of the drought. It caused some challenges, especially for our hay boys. But all in all, I think we're happy that we got moisture. And the rains were continually warm, and so they kept everything coming. The potatoes, for the most part, really have been good. The growers have had challenges naturally with applications of some of the herbicides and whatnot because of the rainy weather and prolonging things and mud in the field and not being able to get in. And so that was a challenge for them. But right now, they're really looking good. And as we turn the corner in potatoes, I made some observations yesterday afternoon and this morning. I presently out north of Aberdeen a ways, and as I come back through, we've got rows that are closing on some of these potatoes, and especially down in Rupert and Minidoka area when I was traveling through there yesterday afternoon. And so what that does disease-wise, one of the toughest diseases that we have in the area this time of year for potatoes is called white mold. And general rule of thumb is it starts invading about row closure or first petal fall on potatoes. And so most of the pathologists I've talked to said a good general rule of thumb is to get that application, that white mold application on at about that time, row closure or shortly thereafter. And our product, of course, is Endura. It's been the workhorse for years, and the beauty of an Endura application, it's somewhere between 5.5 to 7 ounces, is it's a dry formulation, and as soon as it sticks on the plant, aerial applied, ground applied, even through chemigation, the drying effect, and then wherever it did not contact the plant, the next wetting, rain, irrigation, or whatever will take it on down the stems and the leaves so that you get great control throughout the plant canopy and down to the ground. So that's one that growers need to be advised about. And then my competition came out with a product here a few years ago called Luna Tranquility. And in my opinion, the Cadillac program is to go down with Endura first, the first application that we just discussed, and then come back with Luna Tranquility probably 2 to 3 weeks later.
I see.
And that's really a Cadillac program. It strengthens the residual on the white mold, and yet it yields good to early blight control.
Ron, I don't think the general public, and I'll say this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the general public, maybe those that live on a little acreage right outside the city limits or those that live in the city, they might not appreciate all the diseases out there that are trying to affect our crops, which ultimately will affect our food supply, and farmers really have to keep up on everything, don't they?
Well, they do, Zeb, and like we discussed last Monday, I mean, they've got a lot of elements and different things thrown at them. Each year's a little different. And when you talk about the potato grower, naturally, as we discussed last year, he's got a cost of growing about $2,800 to $3,200 an acre. So there's not any room for error, but there is room for putting products on that are going to bring a return on your investment and give you better yield and quality. So, yeah, I don't think the general public even comes close to being aware. As you'll drive down all the roads and interstates and you see all these beautiful green crops growing, and I'm sure they certainly take everything for granted.
You know, and talking about these diseases, whether it's white mold an issue with potatoes or whether it's black dot on potatoes, I mean, there's a lot of research, a lot of years, a lot of experience to develop these kinds of chemicals that will not only make the product safe, but also to make our crops safe, right?
That's certainly true. As every manufacturing company goes through the same process. They bring a product to market, and it costs millions and millions of dollars, and before they can even get it to the market. So they've got heavy investments in it, and of course they've done all the research and safety for proven safety and health. So that's certainly true. And in my opinion, with our product Preaxor, which has headline and Xemium in it, and Xemium is a new carboxamide chemistry which gives two modes of action. And so, personally, I'm probably, like I said, I'm going into my 41st year, so I have no reason to feather dust anything. I would not grow a potato crop without some form of a headline product in it, be it headline or Preaxor or Cabrio Plus, just because of the general nature of the plant health against stress and moving nitrates through the plant better. And it just really enhances the health of the plant, get it started good. And, of course, BASF has done years and years of research to prove that. And, in fact, on our headline label on page 4, the EPA has authorized a statement on plant health, which was one of the only ones that ever had that. So it's good chemistry, and it works in harmony with others, and it really does make a difference in controlling diseases and giving the extra added benefit of the plant health effect to the potatoes and other crops as well. Sugar beets, Preaxor and sugar beets, I mean, that should be the key product they should be using around the corner here pretty soon for powdery mildew and for plant health, increased sugars and yields. So, yeah, that's a true story. I mean, they've been years and research for years and years.
Ron, right now, your main job is what at this time of the year? I mean, we're seeing the crops really start to grow and bloom. Everything looks good. Everything looks like it's ahead of schedule somewhat. I mean, what is your main job right now, working for BASF with the growers?
Yeah, in conjunction with, the dealer network, those that are selling to the growers, correlating with them and the growers to bring a transparent education model to the grower in demonstrating where our products fit in conjunction with others they're using, and mainly just kind of an education process and going through the regimen of every crop and demonstrating where ours would fit as good as any others, or in some cases better. So that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, but wait a minute. I know how you like to visit. How do you find time to find everybody and talk to them?
Well, yeah, it's a challenge, but, my territory's not that big, and I correlate with the business reps that are calling on dealers, and so that triangle effect with the business rep and the dealers and the growers is kind of where I get involved in assisting and helping out.
Well, that brings up a good point right here, Ron, as we wrap things up this morning. You're always easy to get a hold of, and your number's always accessible, 431-6776. But if farmers and growers have questions, and they're listening to this, and they want to have you or someone get a hold of them right away, are there other numbers, or what would you tell the farmers that are really concerned about their potato crop, their sugar beets, etc.?
Well, I would encourage them to go through their fieldmen and crop advisors, those that are calling on them out there in the field that represent the different dealers and distributors in the area. And then if that individual can't answer the question, they've always got resource to follow through on with Tim Perry. He's our rep up in eastern Idaho, and then John Eiley is from Twin Falls County West, and they always get me in the loop if they feel like there's a challenge that they can't handle or answer.
All right.
We just kind of work in a triangle effect, assisting each other.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you something. This man knows agriculture, and I'm so proud to call him one of my best friends, Ron Ellis with BASF, helping Idaho and the United States grow better crops for you. And Ron, thank you so much for being on the program this morning. God's blessings, and now get back on that cell phone and get to work.
Thank you, sir.
All right, take care, my friend. Ron Ellis with BASF, and I'm really proud to have them be a part of our program this morning. You know, there's so much about agriculture that the general public doesn't know, and there is a man right there, Ron Ellis, that absolutely can explain it and describe it and help everybody. He's just really an asset to BASF and agriculture. What have we got coming up? You know, I lost my little news note here about this pianist. Here it is. I found it. What was lost is found. Pianist Jim Hendrix, professor of music at Chicago State University, is going to be in concert at the historic Wilson Theater on this coming Saturday, June 27th at 7 p.m. And tickets will be on sale at the Wilson Theater and the bookstore, along with Welch's Music in Burley, and they're $5, 17 and under, $10 for adults, $25 for family. This man, Jim Hendrix, has appeared and performed with many big names like the Glenn Miller Orchestra, Dave Brubeck. I love Dave Brubeck's music, and Della Reese and many others. For more information on this, contact a very dear friend, Gary Shoresman, at 436-3982. 436-3982. Okay. Got you covered on that. Now, what's going to happen next is we're going to take a little break and get ready for the CBS News. And then at 10:06, I really want to urge you to listen to this segment by Dan Kish, Senior Vice President of Policy at the Institute for Energy Research. Going to be talking about carbon taxes, climate change, and how much it's going to cost us. Stay tuned. I'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh, welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell on a Monday, and good morning to you. Brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them, locally owned and operated, 734-6969. And our thanks to Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch. All the 4-H'ers get a 10% discount. Valley-Wide Home and Ranch. Hey, don't forget the Chadwick Sports Grill. What is the special today at the Chadwick? Don't forget it. It is, listen to this, breaded chicken breast with creamy Dijon sauce. Ooh, with choice of side, veggies, super salad. I love that. That is a good special, along with all the other great menu choices at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see those good folks today. Wonderful food at the Chadwick. Let's go to the phone line right now, and I'm very blessed to have this man on our program, especially today because of all the things that are being insinuated about what's going to happen with climate change and Obama and rules and regulations and more money out of our pocket if we got any more to dig out of there. Good morning to the Senior Vice President in charge of policy with the Institute of Energy Research, Mr. Dan Kish. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Zeb. Happy Monday.
How are you, my dear friend?
I'm doing fine, but, sometimes it gets tough with all the nonsense going on back here.
I can understand. Wheels, over at the station, turn Mr. Kish up inside my headset just a little bit, if you would, please. Dan, I guess nobody would know more than you as to what's going on, what is planned, what's going to hit us, what kind of regulations, what kind of climate change, what kind of carbon tax. I mean, what's going on?
Yeah, well, I don't think that climate change is... I mean, we've got climate change because we've always had climate change. That's the way the good Lord made the earth. That's why we have oil on the North Slope of Alaska where it's frozen 9 months of the year. Somebody driving the pickup truck didn't make those dinosaurs die off. And... but when it comes to the government, they're nonstop, Zeb. I mean, I think we're paying them too much because they're working too hard, and they're working too hard on a bunch of regulations that are basically designed to kill us as a nation, drive up the cost of our energy, as the president said, make it skyrocket. And it's throwing a lot of good people out of work across this United States. They used to be in the mining business. They've got another regulation that's going to cut down on natural gas production, which is what they expect us to replace the coal plants with natural gas production. And it's all part of this global warming nonsense that the president has bought into and just repeats as though if you tell a lie enough, people will believe it.
Dan, I was reading an article that I'm sure you've read also and could report to us that Obama's executive actions could cost us a minimum of $830 to approximately $1,000 more a year out of our household pocketbooks. What do you think about that statement?
Well, that's just for the ozone regulations, Zeb. I think that's the one you're talking about. It's estimated to be the most expensive regulation the government has ever put in place, and it'll affect everything anybody does. In fact, it'll do that in places that currently have background levels of ozone which are already higher than the standard. So you've got perfectly natural occurring ozone in areas where it's higher than the existing standard, and they can't meet it. And now they're going to crimp down the standard, all because they say this will reduce childhood asthma. But over the last 30 years, ozone levels have dropped significantly. I mean, a huge amount. And yet, asthma rates are going up. So it may not have anything to do with the outside air as much as many kids in the city now spend their day inside playing with their Game Boys or whatever it is they're playing with instead of getting out and getting some good old fresh air.
Absolutely. Dan, kind of break this down for us on my program this morning for my audience. Let's talk first of all about at the pumps. What do you see happening over the next 12 to 24 months while this president is still in office as far as the price at the pumps? What are you looking for?
Yep. Well, unless the world blows up, Zeb, we can expect prices to be somewhere in this range. I mean, as you know, the price is still too high, but it's come down significantly from what we were looking at, that $4 a gallon stuff. And that's all because of U.S. production. I mean, the U.S. has led the world in increasing production of oil, all on non-federal land. 89% increase over the last 5 years. 10% decrease on federal lands. If we're up to the Obama administration, we'd be paying $5, $6, $7 a gallon right now if they were in charge of all of our lands instead of just the federal lands. And we should expect prices to hang. They're going to shift around. They always do, as you know, mysteriously. But ultimately, based upon production and the stagnant economic growth that's taking place here and around the world, we shouldn't expect to see any incredible increases unless Iran blocks the Persian Gulf or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So we might see a stability at the pump prices, like you said, but then my concern is, Dan, and you can tell me I'm all wet, my concern is the government will find other regulatory means of taxing us, like with a carbon card or something else. Is that feasible?
Oh, sure is. They're working on that nonstop. I mean, that's what all of these regulations are about, Zeb. Driving up the cost, making price of electricity skyrocket, but also that ozone regulation that I talked about happens to when you lay down the map, it happens to overlay much of the natural gas areas that are producing all the natural gas in the U.S., which we've also increased significantly on everything except the federal lands. It's down on the federal lands. It's way up on the private and state lands. That means natural gas prices are much lower than they would have been. And it's, because the Obama administration is out to ban coal on their global warming kick, we're supposed to make our electricity out of natural gas, but if the price of natural gas then goes up because of the ozone regulation that doesn't allow them to drill, they've got another whack at us. Mm-hmm. It's all about control, Zeb. Washington is full of control freaks that think they're smarter than everybody else. All they want to do is tell you how to live your life, what to do with it, and it's exactly counter to everything that our founding fathers sought to put together when they established this great nation.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question, and Wheels, make sure that Mr. Kish can also hear on this call. Go ahead, caller, please, quickly.
Yeah, hey, I know this may not be your area of expertise, but I thought maybe you might have a theory. You know, the price of a barrel of oil hasn't changed that much when our gas was down around $2 a gallon, and now it's $3. I'm just curious what you thought.
Dan, go ahead, please.
Yeah, that's that shifting of prices I was talking about that happens every year, you know, when they're switching over, the refiners are switching over. Actually, I don't know if people know this, but we had a bunch of refineries in the U.S. that went on strike this year. And a pretty significant portion of our refining capacity was being run at a much lower rate of production. So that's an issue. But it's also true that because of EPA regulations for air at the local level, we have over 50 blends of gasoline in this country, some of which, you know, you can buy. Gas station on one side of the street is different than the gas station on the other side of the street because of the lines they draw. And that complicates things, too. You know, we used to run in this country on a couple of different blends of gasoline, depending on how much you wanted to pay. Now we got Washington dictating over 50. That messes up everything. And that's by design.
Yeah.
That's what they want.
Dan, when you look out your window of your office, and when I go to town or wherever I go, people are driving, people are burning energy for a purpose. Normally, and I'd say almost 95%, is to make a living with their job, to get to their job, to take the kids to the shoe store, to buy new shoes after school, whatever the case might be. How much more of a infliction of debt and worry is this government going to put on families to the point where our economy is going to fall backwards over the cliff with these new imposed regulations?
Well, Zeb, I mean, this is always the march of more government. You know, if they aren't making our cars more expensive, they're making our electricity more expensive. They're trying to control our water. You know, the waters of the United States rule, the EPA. It's just about control, control, control. And it makes you wonder what they've got in mind for us because, you know, the government ought to be, a good common sense approach to government ought to be, gee, national security is first, and that means we produce more of our own energy, which means let our people do their jobs and drive down the cost so that people can afford to spend it on their families instead of paying artificially high prices for energy. But instead, everything they do. Have you ever heard of a regulation that they propose that's actually going to make the price of something go down?
No.
Never. And that's because they actually think we're already living too well. I don't know who they're talking to because there's a lot of folks out there, you know, who are having a hard time of it and would love to be doing better. That's the American way. But the idea that the government has assumed somehow all these people driving around in limousines in Washington, including the president, telling everybody else that they're living too well, doesn't sit well with this old Hungarian.
I thought for a minute there we were going to have a little beep and a whistle there. Dan, let me ask you this question.
I know you got Bessie in the background there.
I do, but I've got to ask you this. You and I are talking on the radio. You're back on the East Coast. I'm here in the Intermountain West. We're mad. Our listeners are mad. They want to do something, and yet they talk to the offices of these absolutely worthless politicians that are not doing for their constituents. They're kowtowing to this administration. With that kind of frustration, what can people do?
They just got to keep doing it, Zeb. I mean, you know, the fact of the matter is these politicians run scared when people are upset with them. And they need to get the message, and people need to raise their voices and tell them, but do it in a nice way. But the fact of the matter is they work for you. You don't work for them. You know, that'd be a nice message for the president, too. Just because he lives like a king doesn't mean he is one. The reason he's living that way is because people put him there. And to sort of talk down his nose, or any politician talking down his nose to the people who put him in the job, is just the opposite of the way it's supposed to work. They are, after all, servants of the people.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a quick question. Caller, go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm reading in the paper this morning about Dworshak Dam turning all of this water loose because we have so much water that they want to cool the salmon down. So I kind of wanted to see what his thoughts were on that.
All right. Dan, if you're not familiar with our stupid, idiotic fish flush out here in the Northwest about releasing very valuable water, important to humans, important to farming, etc., and flushing fish down the stream to the ocean, I'm sure you're familiar with this idiocy. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm very familiar with the situation. I'm not familiar in the situation in your backyard, Zeb, and I apologize to you and your caller. What I am familiar with is that more and more and more now, this has become the norm. This is what's happening in California. If California had sufficient storage and wasn't required to flush more than 40% of their water out into the ocean for the Delta smelt, they wouldn't be having the problems that they've got today. And this, again, the same forces behind driving up the cost of energy are also about driving scarcities of water. Same groups, even Jerry Brown recently said, well, we've got too many people when they were talking about water. And that's where they come from. That's what they believe in. And they feel the way to deal with this is not to produce more of everything, which we could very easily in this country, but instead to make it so expensive that people will use less. That's their grand design. That is the environmental playbook from day one. Doesn't matter what the issue, food, fiber, minerals, energy, you got it.
But isn't it a complete oxymoron for somebody that the last part of that word moron fits for Governor Jerry Brown to say that they've got too many people when at the same time they've got an open border policy and they're letting everybody in? I mean, what's the matter with these idiotic politicians?
Zeb, I tell you, there's no accounting for them, and they're never held to account. And it's bizarre beyond belief that they would, first of all, put themselves in the place of God, and also then begin to penalize people for trying to improve their lives and make their lives better. And the idea that we're somehow flushing enormous amounts of water that could be used to produce power, irrigate, and the rest before it goes on. We don't have any shortage of water in this country, that's for sure. Is things brought to their absurd conclusions. But we will see more and more of this unless people put their feet down and say, stop using us as guinea pigs in your experiment about how to control everything we do.
I think we have one more call. Wheels, is that call for us? Yes, it is. We have one more call, one more question. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Do you feel that the water shortages that are happening purposely will make us more dependent on foreign food, and we will be under control of more foreign countries in the United Nations?
That's a good question, and I'm glad you asked that, Tony. We'll have Mr. Kish answer that on the air. Dan, I've said for a long time that there is a major movement in this country to eliminate or really shortchange American agriculture so we become more dependent upon imports of food into this country. And the water shortages, be that as they are, I think are a way to really shut down our agricultural program and make us more dependent on imports. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, Zeb. I mean, whether by design or by default, the fact of the matter is our policies here in the United States by the government will have a huge impact on agricultural production out into the future. And one of the few bright spots of U.S. And our national strength for well over a century has been our ability to feed ourselves, and actually, because we're so good at it, better than anybody else in the world, to export that food to other people around the world. But California, because the government's cutting off their water to dump it into the ocean, produces the vast lion's share of our fresh fruits and vegetables. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that as less and less as that is produced, we will import it here. When the EPA gets done with us with their waters of the United States rule, and we can no longer drain properly lands that are currently used for agricultural production, that means the price of that product will go up because there'll be less of it. That puts us that all drives towards more international government, obviously, and less government here by the people, of the people, and for the people. And so I think it's something to watch very carefully. These people who push these policies also seem to think the UN can do no wrong. That's the whole global warming thing, is the UN. So if they think they're smarter than we are, then they must think they're smarter than we are on food and everything else. And, people have got to, this isn't your imagination. This stuff is happening.
Yeah, and Dan, I've said for a long time, and I think you and I have talked about it on this program, any country, including the United States of America, that relies on importation of food can be held at ransom by any other country and turn itself into a third world, third-rate country overnight. Would you agree with that?
I sure would. I mean, listen, if a country, because it doesn't have any agricultural land, doesn't know how to do it, and has to feed itself by buying things and can do that, that's their unfortunate experience. The United States has got the most productive farmland in the world, the most productive farmers. We make the best equipment. We're number one. We have been for to do it in the United States is to do the same thing that we're trying to do with our energy, which is make ourselves, the government's policies are actually, if they had their way, would make us more dependent upon other people. And you can only, conclude after a while when you see you got the biggest coal reserves in the world by far, but they won't let us use them. We've got huge oil supplies, but on the government lands, they're going backwards in production. We've got the most productive farmland in the world, and they throw the water into the ocean instead of letting people use it. There's a common theme here, Zeb, and the theme is we're going to tell you how to live, what to do, and you're going to come to us for help.
Absolutely.
And much of that, too much of that, is directed at this sort of international bodies deciding things instead of the United States. That's just not America.
I'll tell you what, you better put your name on the docket for president because you got my vote. Thanks, Dan.
Zeb, always a pleasure. God bless.
God bless you, the Senior Vice President of the IER, Institute of Energy Research, and I certainly appreciate him, Dan Kish. Thank you very much on our program this morning. I want to remind you that on Thursdays we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and we'd like to thank the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley for outpatient surgery, procedures like colonoscopies, carpal tunnel surgery, eye surgeries, many, many more. Please call them today. They can save you money. At 1344 Highland in Burley, the Ambulatory Surgery Center, 677-8888. Also, we'd like to say a thank you to A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. June is their annual Everything for Babies and Toddlers sale, 20 to 70% off. And also, they have baby registries with 10% off for your shower guests, too. And a great sale going on for summer dresses right now at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center, bringing you school days in Cassia County. Going to be hot, and I want to urge everybody to make sure that all your pets, all your livestock, your horses, everything have a good supply of water, and you make sure you have a good supply of water also. As these hot days coming up, we're looking for temperatures, as we reported earlier this morning, going up possibly by Wednesday or Thursday in excess of the 3 digits, over 100 degrees. So please be careful out there, and also with your pets and livestock. Let me see, what else have I got to tell you about real quick. Oh, I'll get this in right now. Vicky's Country Garden. Oh, my goodness sakes. Vicky at 185 South 600 West of Paul with her country garden, serving you with everything for your gardens, everything for your landscaping. She's got it all right there. And on Thursdays, we have a segment at 10:30 called Vicky's Country Garden, Gardening for Idiots, named after me. And for all your questions, just give her a call at 438-5663. That number again, 438-5663, Vicky's Country Garden, with a segment on Thursdays at 10:30 called Gardening for Idiots. Be sure and call in. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studios, and we'll be back in just a moment with George Mass and Kelly Anthon. You stay tuned.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Good morning and welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch, and we're into our last half hour. And I have been joined by a couple of great gentlemen. We're going to introduce them to you in just a moment. Want to remind everybody, June Dairy Month, thank you very much for all the promotion for a great, great month out of the year. June Dairy Month, to really pay tribute to all of our dairymen and, of course, the United Dairymen of Idaho. Thank you for all your support. Well, look who's here in the studio, and he's been on a diet. I can see his earlobes look thinner. Hello, George Mass. How are you, my dear friend?
I am doing good, Mr. Bell. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be on there with you today.
It's nice to have you back. Now, you brought somebody with you, and I'm going to let you have the honor of introducing this gentleman.
Yes, I've got Kelly Anthon. He's the city administrator.
For Rupert.
For Rupert, yes. Right. And City of Rupert and Rupert POW is sponsoring the Idaho Roll Call with the support of all veterans in Mini-Cassia.
Right. Kelly, good morning. How are you?
Good, Zeb. Thank you so much for letting me be here with you today.
Now, if you go tell anybody how messy my office was, I'm afraid that I'll never have to let you back on this program again.
Let me tell you something, Zeb. You don't want to see my office because it's much worse than this.
You know, this office is the only room that Deanne doesn't clean because she says you got to leave breadcrumbs to get in and out of it anyway. So, George, in all seriousness, this Idaho Roll Call Memorial Monument, it means a lot to you, doesn't it?
It does, Zeb. And Zeb, if I could take a moment, please. There's some people I've got to thank to make this happen. The city of Rupert is supporting this 110%. We've got the Thompson Concrete that did our cement work. Dean Cameron. We could not fly our flag at half-staff without Senator Cameron.
Right.
He sponsors Bill S-1155.
What's the matter? You got a frog in your throat? My goodness, you're choking to death over there.
I'm just getting the rest of that banana bread down.
Oh, you ate some of that banana bread?
Yes. Okay, and back to the sponsors.
Yes.
Co-sponsor, Representative Fred Woods, took the bill through the House. We had veteran organizations in Mini-Cassia, supports us 100%. Damian Rodriguez, Gary Shoresman, Adam Fowler, and myself. Mm-hmm. We testified before the Senate and the House to get this done. And Kelly Anthon is working with the governor to get the proclamation done. So we couldn't do it without this group of people.
And let's just back up just for a second before I go over to Kelly. The Idaho Roll Call Memorial Monument, it had some flack by certain individuals that thought that the flag should not fly at half-staff, and that's why you went to Senator Dean Cameron, right?
Yes, it is. We was all within protocol, but I guess politically correct might be the right word to use.
I don't like politically correct on this program.
But we jumped through some more hoops to make it where nobody could have say anything against it. It's law.
And it is a tribute for those who have fought for our great country and have never come home.
Yeah, killed in combat.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Kelly, where do you come in on this as a city administrator?
Well, we began working with the Rupert POW MIA committee to put this monument in the first place. We knew on the front end that this would be a monument where we'd fly the flag at half-staff. Our position at the city was let our veterans decide how they will honor the war dead.
Excellent.
And so, nonetheless, as you've mentioned, there was some concern about it. And so George did the right thing to tidy it all up, and we worked with the Idaho legislature and the governor's office to get it so that we could do this.
Kelly, I'm sure, how long have you been the city administrator over in Rupert?
3 years.
3 years. In that 3 years' time, I would assume that you're a local hometown boy.
Yes, sir.
And you have seen a lot of growth and a lot of patriot attitude during the 4th of July celebration, etc. But when you have people like George Mass and others that get behind projects like this that draw a focal attention to your community, you must be very proud of them.
Well, I am. And, George and I had a good visit on the way over here because what I love about the veterans groups is they're not just doing service, they're not just making the city look better and those kinds of things. But there's an education component. that our young people need when it comes to the veterans
Amen.
groups. And I couldn't be happier to have them in Rupert and doing the things they're doing.
You know, what about that, though, Kelly? I mean, everybody says educate, 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 but nothing ever seems to get done, and we try to make more inroads with the schools for more of the assembly programs, etc. But I'll be honest with you, I travel all over the United States, possibly a lot more than either two of you together, and I do a lot of speaking at various schools, etc. Patriotism just isn't thought of anymore.
Well, it really should be. I've watched groups like the American Legion. George knows, in addition to POW MIA groups, I'm a huge, huge fan and supporter of the American Legion. Think of the Boys State program. Right. Think of the Idaho Constitution oratory contest they sponsor and those things. We need to give all the support we can to the American Legion, other groups like them, that are really out to teach our youth there's a great sacrifice that's been paid for all the freedoms that we're enjoying today.
Amen. Well said, Kelly. Now, George, you have designed a special program that's going to be on July 1st, and in tribute to the Idaho Roll Call Memorial Monument. Tell us a little bit about why you're doing this.
We want to get this up and get everything to proper protocol. It will be July 1st at 6 p.m.
Right.
We will have families there laying a wreath for the representing some of the fallen. Larry Cottam is going to help lay the wreath for all fallen veterans in Idaho. Mm-hmm. Our fallen veterans go back to 150 years. We lost one out. This is out of Minidoka County that fought with the Mormon Indian War in Utah.
Yes.
So it represents all of Idaho, just not Minicacia. It's all of Idaho that's represented on this.
So this gathering at the memorial, we're going to have that at 6 p.m. on July 1st.
Yes, we got Mr.
And the public is urged to come by for this really wonderful ceremony.
Yes, I'm going to say the last half hour, 45 minutes, but it's very patriotic. It's very emotional, moving. We've got our riders, our bike riders coming in for support, and they've always supported veteran groups big time.
Now, there's no cost or anything like that, but it's going to be a solemn gathering at 6 p.m. on July 1st, and you're basically going to have a podium, and we're going to have quite a few people there speaking and singing.
Yeah, we've got Art Smith, and we've got Dan Hendricks will be singing.
Right.
Mr. Kelly Anthem will be our guest speaker.
I wonder who is this guy Kelly Anthem anyway?
He's kind of...
he's sitting right next to you. That's the one. I see. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and we'll have the Youth for Liberty posting colors.
They do a wonderful job.
They do, and we've got...
You ought to be pretty proud of them. I heard one of them might be your grandson.
Yeah, I'm kind of partial to them. It's just very proud of what they've become.
Stop right there, though. The Youth for Liberty, you've done a lot with that program, and they, in turn, have talked a lot with their schoolmates. That's the way we're going to get this thing back as far as patriotism is concerned.
It is. Kelly, you and I will not save this world. It's going to be these young ones coming up who's going to save it.
Right. What else is going to be happening that night?
They'll be posting the colors. Mr. Zeb Bell's going to be our MC, which we're very honored to have that.
I heard of that guy. Watch out for him, George.
Yeah, and we'll have the mayor. We'll do the welcome. We've got really a special tribute this year. We've got three guys that plays the bagpipes that will be playing Amazing Grace.
Oh, my goodness sakes. And they are, I believe the names are right here on my sheet, Justin K., Griffin K., and Houston K., right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they have the
bagpipes.
Yeah.
Oh, my. Have you ever tried to play the bagpipes?
No.
Why did you chuckle when I asked you a very serious question?
Well, if I did, you wouldn't want to hear it.
But I think the main thing that you want people to realize is at a very important patriotic time of the year, just preceding the 4th of July, this is really important, isn't it?
It is. The House and the Senate passed the bill. The governor signed it into law. It goes into effect July 1st.
Right.
And so this will be a proper time to dedicate it over the 4th of July. We'll have the Declaration American Legion with 21-gun salute and taps.
Okay.
But the main reason that's there is to pay tribute to our fallen. So when you go by and you see that, maybe it'll something will light up into you that might make you feel a little bit proud.
Those that gave the ultimate so that they could drive by and
Yes.
see that monument.
Yes.
Absolutely. Kelly, what about the city of Rupert? Seems like it's the Christmas city, and Rupert 4th of July is well known all over the Intermountain West, and of course you've got a wonderful square. I've said for a long time, and George has heard me, that the movie It's a Wonderful Life must have been thought of when they toured Rupert because of that city square and everything. It's really a nice city over there.
Rupert is idyllic in many ways. We really are happy to have the 4th of July coming up. As you said, we are a Christmas city. We are also, I think, the 4th of July headquarters.
Yeah.
This year, I'm excited because the 4th of July committee has chosen to honor our veterans as well, and that's kind of the theme over there. But the other thing that I'm excited about is that the Idaho Business Review recently said we're an economic hotspot.
Really?
And so I've been very happy to see over the last 3 years how Rupert has taken hold of the reins when it comes to growing the economy just enough to make sure we have jobs for our kids so they can stick around and enjoy what you're talking about.
Excellent.
Good community.
Excellent. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. I just want to take a minute to thank Kelly and George for all the hard work they put into making the city what it is. And, with all the turmoil that we have going on in the world right now, I think that this memorial tribute would kind of encourage people to stand up and do what's right. This is to honor all the men and women who died for the freedoms that we share today.
Absolutely. And well stated, my dear friend. Thank you for your call. All right. God bless you. Thank you. George, you might have known that caller a little bit, did you?
Yeah, she's my cook.
Yeah, that's what I thought. She's more than your cook.
Yeah.
She is your leader.
No, I'm still the boss at the house.
I see. Yeah, I can tell that.
Zeb, there's one other thing I'd like to comment, too, on this Idaho Roll Call Monument. There's 2 places in the United States that flies the flag at half-staff 24/7. One is in Comfort, Texas, at the True Deer Union Monument, which pays tribute to their fallen Civil War. The other is Rupert, Idaho.
Really?
And that's kind of highlight, but that's not the main reason that's in.
George, why have you, and I've never asked you this question, I don't think, on the air, but why have you dedicated so much of your life, your personal life, to doing projects like this? I mean, what's the motivating force behind you doing all this?
My grandkids.
Really?
I look at them, I see what the world's going, look like it's coming to, and I don't like it. I've had friends that's died, and nobody really gives a damn.
Yeah.
And so this is to when they see that, my grandson, which is working through him to get it out, to wake people up. Just to wake them up and let them know that what they've got, people's died for.
Kelly, as a city administrator, and I got to be very fair to you, or anybody that helps run and or manage a city anywhere, USA, you try to be to the point where you're middle of the road and try to appease all people and all situations. But sometimes you have to really put your foot down and say, this is America, these are our values, and this is what we're going to stand for.
Well, and luckily we have a community where that's not such a big problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're right. I think at some point we tend to think somebody else is going to take care of the problem.
Amen, yeah.
But at some point we all have to stand up and say we're going to fight for the conservative values that we were raised with, that we know work, and that we know build good communities. And so I'm excited to be a part of this.
Well, now, George, what about the weather? Have you got a written guarantee that the weather's going to be perfect on July 1st?
Kelly said it was.
Pass the buck a little bit.
You got it.
Okay. Now you're going to have a sound system and everything set up so they can hear everything, and a podium and everything, right?
Yes. Yeah. We'll have the city's bringing in a couple of big bleachers for people to sit on. So,
why don't you both? And maybe this would be Kelly's job first and foremost to explain to everybody, in case in the listening audience they don't know where the monument is. What is the easiest way to give them directions to be at that ceremony?
So if you know where Scott Avenue is in the city of Rupert, it's the diagonal street that runs right parallel to the railroad tracks. just a couple blocks to the east of City Hall, you're going to find that monument very, very easily.
Okay. And there's plenty of parking around the monument area for people to come in and really partake in this, right, George?
Yeah, the city's going to block off a couple of those streets there so people can get in.
Wonderful.
And we should have a lot of bike riders in. So
you love this time of the year with all the red, white, and blue, don't you?
I do.
Yeah. And you've got a big couple of weeks coming up.
Yep, you sure do.
All right. Anything else you want to tell us about the monument and the roll call and why it came into being and why you're doing this on July 1st?
Well, I got a brainstorm here when we lost Chris Workman. I had the honor of going to Boise and help escort him home. And from Burley to the cemetery was solid flags and lights and people. 2-3 weeks later, everything's back to normal. And I was one of them that gets back to normal, and that's their problem, you don't worry about it. But we need to worry about it. And I got to thinking, we lost a soldier, and that just woke me up that we need to do something about it.
Amen.
And so that's why it went in.
I'm going to have some closing remarks from each of you in just a moment, but right now I've got to get a weather forecast in here. Brought to everybody by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. Your hometown meat cutter, locally owned custom meat processor for over 20 years, changing the way we eat one bite at a time. They guarantee everything they sell, and let me tell you, they sell the word delicious. So get a hold of them today. Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number again, 324-7657. And now here is the weather.
Here's your weather forecast for Zebeth Ranch. Looks like a high-pressure system is in place for the rest of the week. Sunny skies for today. High right near 85, slightly breezy. Winds out of the west right around 10 miles an hour. Tonight, expect a low near 53. Now, tomorrow, still slightly breezy, but the temperature is going to go up. Sunny skies, high of 89 with an overnight low of 55. For Wednesday, sunny skies, high of 91 as we move closer to the weekend. Looks like highs are going to be in the mid-90s. Could see triple digits as we get on into the weekend. That's your weather forecast for Zebeth Ranch.
Thank you very much. And right now, again, reminding you, oh my, they changed the way we eat one bite at a time, and the way is delicious. Absolutely. Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Call Don Scarrow and the crew today at 324-7657. Kelly, we'll start with you, City Administrator. Give us your thoughts about this upcoming 4th of July and also the Roll Call Monument on July 1st.
Well, thank you, Zeb. No, I want to encourage everyone in the area to come over to Rupert for the 4th of July celebration beginning June 30th. And so June 30th, we start with our Christmas in July breakfast. That's where we raise money for the fireworks. There are festivities, bands, all kinds of things going on all through the week. And, of course, the thing we want to highlight today is July 1st, 6 o'clock.
Right.
The dedication of this monument, which we think is a very, very important reminder of all the sacrifice that's been made for the freedoms we enjoy every day.
Very well said. You said that almost like you were a politician besides a city administrator. George, your final thoughts, please.
I encourage the public to come and witness this. It's not only making history, but it's paying respect and to the fallen soldiers and also to the families that lost their loved ones.
Absolutely.
So it'll be a moving moment there, and we just encourage everybody to come be part of it.
All right, let's go down and review it one more time. It's the Idaho Roll Call Memorial Monument tribute that you're going to have on July 1st, and give us the time and the location again.
At 6 p.m. on C and Scott Street, or 7th and Scott, there's 3 streets come in there.
Okay.
And be there. It's going to start promptly at 6.
Okay. And it probably will not take more than 45 minutes, at the most an hour.
45 minutes. I figure pretty much cover that.
Yeah. And it's come as you are.
Pardon?
Come as you are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
and in your case and my case, that's pretty come as you are.
You got it.
But I'm just really looking forward to this, and I want to say thank you to both of you for all the work that you've done on this. Folks, this is all the more reason that we should thank the good Lord above. We live right here in the Magic Valley, and especially close to the town of Rupert, where they're going to have that special festivity for the 4th of July on July 1st, and that's the Idaho Roll Call Memorial Monument Tribute, and it's going to be at Scott and C Street, July 1st at 6 p.m. Thank you for both being on the program this morning.
Thank you, Zeb.
Thank you.
Come early. There's stuff going on all day and way long after we're done.
Absolutely. I got to say goodbye to you guys, and I got to pay some bills here, and then I'm going to wrap things up. So thank you both for being on our program. City Administrator for Rupert, Kelly Anthon, and then my old buddy, emphasis on the word old, George Mass. Thank you very much for being here this morning. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you gentlemen. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with the best tire value promise in the industry. And don't forget, they've got all your tires for all your driving needs. Whether it's, of course, for your car, they've got the Ultra Z900 on sale right now. And that's a long tread life, smooth, quiet ride. You check it out for your passenger cars right now at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And they've got that free pre-trip safety check, too, giving visual inspection of such things as tire pressure check, visual inspection of the front end components, visual inspection of the brake service, etc. All this and much, much more at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with the best in brake service and, of course, front end alignment, shocks and struts. You stop in today and see our friends with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I have to, right now, say a goodbye a couple of minutes early, and my dear friend Wheels over at the main studio is going to play a couple of, I think, patriotic songs, if he can put them all together. Wheels, are you there?
Yeah, I am. You obviously heard my breath.
Yes, I heard your breathing, which is a good thing. But, Wheels, I've got to take a kind of a real quick emergency run up to Nampa and take some things up there and then turn right around and be back here earlier this evening. So we've got to gallop out of here. And I want to say thanks again to Kelly Anthon and George Mass for being on the program. Thanks to everybody. Now, tomorrow on the show, we are going to have the return of Frosty Woldridge. Yes, sirree, Bob. He's back from his great big eastern section of the United States bike trip, and he's going to be on the air. Also, at 9:30 tomorrow, we're expecting a call from Governor Butch Otter, and that's going to be for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then at 10:06, we've got Dr. History coming on the program, and at 10:30, we're going to go over all the activities and festivities that are planned for the Rupert 4th of July celebration for this year. So we've got a full plate tomorrow, and we want to urge you to tune in at 8:06. Zeb at the Ranch right here on K-Bar, 12:30 a.m. Streaming live on the internet, zebbell.com. The way things were are the way things ought to be. Wheels, take it away, old buddy. I'll talk to you in the morning. Thank you.